Chief Justice Martha Koome crossed the proverbial 100-day mark a few weeks ago. She has since launched a vision for the judiciary titled Social Transformation Through Access to the Judiciary.
Right. Yvonne Okwara-Matole sat down with her to discuss this and several other issues, such as the relationship between the judiciary and the executive, as well as what her vision will do to ensure access to justice for every Kenyan.
Thank you, Madam CJ, for speaking with us on Citizen Television. We know it's been about 120 days of you being in office, and we will get to your vision in a moment. But let's first start with, news that's been taking place and, start where we must. I'd like to begin by talking about a case that took place in the judiciary where that has caused quite a bit of public outrage, and that is the case to do with Rio, the Rio scandal, where we had a former CS and another sports official who were convicted and sentenced. And many people saying this was a light sentence. If you took a look at even the demeanor of the man who was sentenced, he was flashing the peace sign, he was quite happy with the sentence, paid the fine of 3.6 million shillings and walked away. And some say, well, hang on a minute, this looks like this is getting off with a slap on the wrist. What would you say to people who say that this is an exemplification of the rich, the wealthy, the powerful who have their way in a court of law?
Thank you, Yvonne, for inviting me to your show. And thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak to you and to Kenyans about my vision after I have been in the office for 100 days. Corruption is endemic in Kenya. It's a big problem. The Constitution outlaws corruption. It's a criminal offense to be involved in corruption. Everybody speaks very roundly against corruption. And when it comes to the law, the penal code and the anti-corruption laws, they provide the penalties for somebody who has been found guilty of an offense. So whether that was a right sentence, I will not be able to discuss it because that's a live matter that will go on appeal, might even come to my court in the Supreme Court. So I am forbidden from discussing a live matter. So I cannot join the public to say whether it was a right sentence or whether it was a slap on the list, like you're saying. Safe to say that corruption is unacceptable behavior, especially by public officers. And we as judges and magistrates are supposed to deal with it firmly according to the law. So I'll leave it at that.
All right. Yes. But as a judicial officer, do you think perhaps, and you mentioned the law and, the magistrate was probably working within the confines of the law, corruption being a serious issue and one you are on record as, speaking up against and saying it is a national embarrassment, do you think that perhaps there needs to be more to be done to do with the laws that govern corruption, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Act, perhaps, a number of these? Because from a layman's point of view, it's very difficult for them to see somebody sentenced, somebody fined, and somebody jubilant over it and walking away. Do you think perhaps, because you've said it's a national embarrassment, that there is something to be done to tighten the laws to make it even more punitive?
Always. We have had problems with the laws regarding corruption, and it has been historical. We established the Anti-Corruption Commission, and we find it illegal. We set it aside. We say, look, this procedure was not followed when this person was being arrested. The commission was not constituted. So there has always been a challenge with registration. And that is beyond the judiciary, because we work with what we have. We deal with the laws that are already in place. It is the legislature that enacts the laws. So I have had even other organs of the government dealing with corruption cases, like the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, the Office of the Director of Prosecutions, and even the Director of Criminal Investigations, the police, speak about areas of law that need to be looked into by Parliament so that we can tighten those laws to make it very expensive, very, very inconvenient, a lifetime stigma for anybody who engages in corruption and takes money from the public, which is meant for our hospitals, for our education, and somebody who really sabotages our economy and puts the whole country into disrepute. You know, when we collect money to deal with, say, COVID-19 pandemic, which has been such a disaster, and then it goes into people's pockets. When our children cannot access education, it's really a matter of concern for everybody. And everybody speaks about against it. But when it comes to dealing with it, we are not as firm as we ought to be. So we need to come together and look into those laws and see what needs to be done so that actually somebody will be looking at even opportunities of committing corruption and deciding, I will not do. Because of the consequences. Because of the consequences.
But let's talk about what's within your realm of control, because, you know, you're talking about the legislature that has to make more punitive laws. But the DPP and a number of other institutions have been on record saying, you know, cases are brought to the court and they don't see a conviction rate that is fast enough, commensurate with, I mean, I know there's corruption cases and scandals and allegations that are coming up every so often in the country, but there's also been, you know, an accusation leveled against the judiciary that cases don't move fast enough. I mean, the president, you know, in his first term said, Nifanye nini jameni, I have done everything. The constitution, you know, has put in all of these officers to ensure that there's corruption, but then when the cases come to the judiciary, come to the courts, there's delay after delay, things take quite a bit of time. What, in your vision, would start to address this issue?
I understand that concern and frustration. But look, judiciary does not work alone. And here I would not want to blame anybody, but to say that all of us are in service delivery. Everybody should do what they are supposed to do. The judiciary relies on the police to charge, to bring evidence, witnesses. We rely on the office of the DPP to prosecute those cases effectively. Since I came in office, I've been engaging our corruption courts. I've had meetings with the magistrates who are dealing with corruption cases to see why are cases being delayed. Even when I assumed office, my speech, I said the judiciary will not be the parking lot for corruption cases. And even my vision talks to one of the key result areas is how to deal with corruption in the judiciary. Because first of all, we in the judiciary, we have taken an oath of office. We cannot be involved in corruption. It's a criminal offense. You'll be acting against your oath of office. Because sometimes you say, you know, litigants also practice corruption. They bring bribery. They bring bribes to the judges. We should not take, because we have taken an oath of office not to do that, to uphold the Constitution, to uphold the rule of law. We are the defenders of the rule of law. Therefore, even if somebody brought you bribes, you should not take. So I'm looking at it from the point of view that we will need to work together with other stakeholders for us to succeed. Even if we are so effective and so efficient as the judiciary alone, we will not succeed until we get the police doing what they are supposed to do, bring evidence, credible evidence that can sustain a conviction, working with the legislatures also to look at the laws that deal with corruption and see whether they are meant to give that slap on the wrist and allow people to walk away as if they have done nothing when they have actually impoverished our country and made us become a laughing stock of the other nations.
Okay.
Yes.
I want to talk about the balance between managing corruption cases that are brought to the court and allegations of corruption within the court, which is something you've just talked about. And I understand the individuals I'm about to ask you about are innocent until proven guilty, but I just want to understand what your thought process would be around how to handle and manage corruption allegations that are made against judges. We recently saw the arrest of 2 judges over allegations of corruption. Their guilt or innocence will be determined, but should they be arrested the way they should, or should it be the JSC that is handling that matter? And some would say, well, you know, out of abundance of caution, should the judges then step aside while all of this matter is cleared up?
Also, that's a live matter. I think my discussion with you will just be limited on perhaps a protocol or a guideline we are trying to come up with. Because you realize, Yvonne, that we carry a very heavy responsibility as judges. We are the ones that the people of Kenya have given the power and authority to defend the Constitution, defend the rule of law, our democracy, and human rights. And then there is this aspect of a private person who is a judge, who is capable of taking a bribe, who is capable of committing any other offense, and just behaving in a manner that is against the law. So how do you balance that? Because we must at all the times defend the integrity of the judiciary, the integrity of this judge who is supposed to carry the mandate of the Constitution. So when you raid the chamber of a judge, when they are writing a ruling and they are about to go to court to deliver, the image that comes out of that process is that you are interfering with the independence of the judge. Just the same way, police cannot raid the chamber of a parliamentarian who is about to go to the parliament, to the chamber to debate, or even go to State House and attempt to arrest the president. So, you know, this is what we are trying to see and engage Kenyans also on a balance that protects the independence and the integrity of the judiciary. At the same time, no judge is above the law. If you have committed an offense that is known to the law, you must be brought to account. But how do you get brought to account? There is a Judicial Service Commission that deals with the discipline.
Which you head.
Which I am the chair.
Yeah.
Is it the Judicial Service Commission that should be brought this information and brought and told, Judge so-and-so is involved in this, and this, and this. Look at it and tell us how to proceed. We look at it, we invite the judge, we say, look at what is before us, what do you say? Because, you know, we have to hear you. And then when we think an offense known to law is disclosed by those facts, then we tell the police, do what you know how to do.
But can the JSC
and to do that, then you don't have to create fear and despondency in the chambers by coming to raid the chambers. Because a judge is not running away. A judge is not a flight risk. You don't have to arrest them in a commando style with 20 vehicles, drive them to the police station, throw him in the cells, you know, just to humiliate them. The judge is not a flight risk. You can say, I want to take a statement from the judge. And we can tell you, go to the Judicial Training Institute and do it there in one of the rooms. Record the statement. The day you want the judge to appear in court, because of the dignity. I'm telling you, this is a judge carrying 2 parts. The defender of the Constitution and the rule of law, and the other criminal aspect, human aspect of it. So it's a balancing act. It's not asking judges to be treated in a special way or saying judges are above the law. It is saying, like, let us respect the law. Because I know previously judges have been brought that kind of information and they opted to retire.
Would the JSC then take up the matter? Because that would sort of obviate, the police process. Is the JSC, which you chair, considering taking up the matter and looking into the allegations against Justices Chitembwe and Muchelule?
We cannot just do that because it's not in our hands. Nothing has been brought to us. The police have not brought it to us. But don't forget also there are orders of the court stopping, injuncting the police from doing anything. So this is why we can't discuss the matter, because it's a live matter before the court.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Madam CJ, and thank you for speaking with us on Citizen Television. We want to take a short break and come back. We have a lot more to talk about, including access to justice, the relationship with the executive, and much more. We're taking a short break. When we return with the Chief Justice of Kenya, that's Justice Martha Koome, in a moment.